Hello everyone, welcome to the next video in SQL Server video series. Today we are going to see what is primary key, what is foreign key and what is a default constraint in SQL Server. What is primary key and foreign key? Actually we use primary key and foreign key to uniquely identify a row in a table. For example, whenever we insert records in tables, there must be an unique column which can be used to identify and eliminate the duplicate values. For example, if it is a college management system or a hospital management system, there will be a unique ID which can only allow unique values which can be used to eliminate the duplicates records insert into the table, so thereby we can perform database integrity in our tables. What is a default constraint? A default constraint is assigned to a column. If we didn't supply any values for our column, the default value is automatically assigned to those rows. And using primary keys and foreign keys, we can also perform various types of joins operations. So let's dive into the SQL Server. Now I am inside my SQL Server. I have connected to my server. Let's open the database, create a new query window. So let me create a table. Let's name it as students. Give an ID column, integer. Let me give it as primary key and a name column, varchar, and an age column, integer. Let me create this table. So I have added a primary key constraint inside the table students. So now let me try to insert some values inside this table. Insert to students values 1 moment, age 20, 1, so let me execute the first query. One row get affected in my table, and when I try to insert the second query, it shows an error that violating of primary key constraint, cannot insert duplicate values inside the table students. So after I have specified the ID as an primary key, it does not allows me to insert the null value inside the ID column. So thereby you can perform the data integrity by allowing only the unique values inside your column to uniquely identify your rows inside your table. So let me now change the value as 2 and now insert these 2 rows. Now the rows got affected. Let's see, select and see the table. So there are 3 rows inside my table. So in the first row, for the ID number 1, here is Anand, whose ID is 1. There is no other members with the ID 1. There can be duplicate names, but the ID can uniquely identify the students based on the primary key. We can do this. Let me create another table, name it as courses. Let me create 2 columns, course ID, which is an integer, and let me give us primary key, and course name as varchar. So now let me create this table. So I have created a primary key for this course ID. So now I need a course ID column inside this students table. So thereby we can map these students to specific courses. To add a column inside the table, you can use the alter command, alter table. You need to specify the table name, and then you can use the add command to specify the column name, I need course ID column and need to specify the data type integer, and you need to give the foreign key. Reference for this course ID column, reference to the courses table. In the courses table we are referring to the course ID column. So when I try to execute this query, now a new column got added into my students table. So let me execute this. So there is another column known as course ID and it is in null. Let me insert some values in my courses table. Insert into courses, values, comma CSC 2, comma ECE 3, comma triple E. So let me insert 3 values inside my courses table. So now let's select the course table. So there are 3 courses available for me. Now let's just edit the 3 rows which we inserted earlier in our students table. You can also use the update statement to insert this, or you can use the designer window where you can navigate to the tables and you can see the student table. Just like right click this, can you edit top 200 rows. In this designer, you can edit the course ID. Let me give course ID as 1 and here course ID as 2, and for this row I just going to assign course ID as 10. Now it shows an error like no rows was updated. The data in the row 3 was not committed because of the foreign key constraint error. So as I referred my course ID column as foreign key for the course table primary key column. So if I referred a column as a foreign key into the primary key of courses, what all are the IDs present in the course can only be inserted into the course ID column in students. So it can also perform data integrity. So there it won't allows the duplicate records or even a false value inside the column course ID. So it can also provide a 2. It will accept a foreign key can allows a duplicate value but not a primary key. Let me give it as 3. So now let's close this and select and see the students. Now the courses got assigned for the students. Let us join and see what are the students present in which courses. Let's use select statement, select start from students. Let give us as alias name yes, join courses C on yes dot course ID equal to C dot course ID. So now you can see the ID number 1 belongs to CSE department, ID number 2 belongs to ECE, ID number 3 belongs to EEE. So you can also perform join operations using these primary and foreign key constraints. So it will be useful to perform multiple joins and other operations for you. Basically the primary key does not allows a duplicate value as it uniquely identifies the rows in each table. Every table can only contains only one primary key, but the table can contain more than one foreign keys. You can have 3 foreign keys in a table, but it will allows only one primary key in a table. So now let me try to delete a record from this course table. Delete from courses. Let's say I don't need the EC department. Let me delete it by specifying where course ID ECE belongs to course ID 2. Let me give 2 and delete this course. It shows an error like there is a conflict while reference to the foreign key constraint in the database table students. So as this is a primary key and it is referred to the course ID in the students table, it does not allows me to delete the record in the course table as it is referred in the students table. Let's see in the select statement. So there is a student in the course ECE, so it does not allows me to delete the course. So if I delete the course too, then what will be the student belongs to which group? So it would allow you to delete the records from the primary key table while it is referred to as foreign key table in another table. So if you want to delete the course, first you need to delete the student record. So we can delete the student, delete it from students, where id equal to the student id is 2. So let's delete the student. So the row got deleted. Let's see, there are only 2 students available for me now. So if I try to delete this course, now the delete has been successfully completed, and you can see there are only 2 courses available for me now. One is CSE and another is EEE. The EC course got deleted. So if you want to delete the record, you first need to delete the records which are belonging to the foreign key present in other tables. So basically the primary key and foreign keys are used to reference and perform joins. The primary key does not allow any null value, any duplicate values. It uniquely identify rows, and the foreign key can identify the values which are relevant to the primary key reference of those tables, and it will enforce the true values, not the false one. So now we have seen like how to use the primary key and foreign keys. Now if I haven't given like specified the primary key in this table, let's drop the table. I have dropped the course table. So it says there is a foreign key constraint for the courses table. So as students table has referred to the course table, we just need to drop the students table to drop course table. So now the table got successfully dropped, and now I am going to drop the course table. So now if I have created the course table like this, and if I need to add the primary key constraint for this course table to this course id, then I can use the alter command, alter table. You can use the add constraint, you have to specify the name. It's say primary key of course id, and primary key of which column? Course id. Let's give this. And when I try to execute this statement, it shows the error the primary key constraint on the column nullable value of the table course cannot create constraint. So it shows like we cannot create primary key constraint for the column which is a nullable value, because if we created the column like with not null constraint, then we can enforce the data integrity. So let's drop the table. So now let me create this table. So if I try to run this now, the primary key constraint has added successfully. Let's refresh this table and see the keys. You can see the primary key for the column course ID. So you need a not null constraint to enforce or add a primary key constraint to one table. So we need a unique value in the primary key column, so it must not be a null value. So now we have seen like what is a primary key and what is a foreign key and how it is used in SQL Server. Now let us see what is a default constraint. Let me clear all these things. Now let's drop all other tables, courses, delete. Okay, now let's refresh the tables. Now so I need a column like the entry date. I need to specify at which date the entry of the student has been submitted. Let me give as date time. So we need to specify the date time at which time the entry of the student has been recorded. So in this case, if we forget to note the entry time, it have to take the current date time of the entry. So we can use default constraint. In such cases you can give default value as get date of. This is a inbuilt function. The get date of will give the current date time of the execution of the query. Let us see. Select get date as current date time. So now the current date and time is 13 February 24 11:31. So you can use this default constraint while creating the table. Now let me insert some values to this table. Insert into students values. Let me give ID, name and age. if I am going to specify only 3 columns, I need to specify the columns, or it will shows number of supplied values does not matches the table's values. So let us provide id, name, and then age. So I am not going to specify the entry date column supply value. Now let's select and see. Select start from students. So the entry date has automatically generated. So whenever a student entry got affected in this table, if they didn't specify the entry date time for those records, this default constraint will automatically assign the execution time at which the query get affected. So we can use default constraints to specify the default values we can assign to those rows. You can specify anything for any data types, for any columns a default value can be assigned. So if you want to specify a course, if the course ID has not been specified, you can also give course ID integer, and default you can specify, you can give, if none of the course ID has been assigned to the student, defaultly assign it as 3, and you can use such things using the default So today we have learned what is a primary key and what is a foreign key and what is a default constraint in SQL Server, and how the primary key and foreign keys are used to uniquely identify the columns and perform the data integrity operations, and how the default value is used to assign the default values for the records in our table. I think the topics has been understood very well. Let me provide the GitHub link in the description, so check the solution and also the exercise for today's classes. Thank you.